Rakeyan Wuwus, also remembered by the regal title Prabu Galu, was born during a time of relative peace but deep cultural transformation in the Sunda Mataram realm. As the son of Rakeyan Panaraban, the noble and spiritually revered King Tamperan, Wuwus was born into a legacy steeped in sacred duty and royal expectation. Queen Dewi Parwati was a princess of noble Javanese blood, descended from a spiritual lineage connected to the temples of central Java. This union between Tamperan and Parwati symbolized the strengthening of spiritual and political ties between the mountain kingdoms and coastal sanctuaries of the archipelago. From birth, Wuwus was surrounded by omens of greatness. It is said that on the night of his birth, the wind stilled and the stars formed a perfect mandala above the palace. The royal sages interpreted these signs as a cosmic blessing, foretelling a ruler who would be both a protector of tradition and an innovator for future generations. As a child, Wuwus was marked by a calm yet intense presence, with deep-set eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of past kings. Educated under the strict yet compassionate guidance of his father and the kingdom's highest spiritual teachers, Wuwus excelled in statecraft, sacred literature, astronomy, and martial training. He learned to navigate the complexity of court politics while remaining anchored in the teachings of Dharma. His mother ensured he also learned the arts and music, encouraging a balanced character shaped by discipline and beauty. Unlike his predecessors who displayed early signs of mysticism or military might, Wuwus developed a sharp intellect and a contemplative nature. He spent long hours in meditation, often retreating to forest shrines where sages dwelled in silence. There, he learned of the deeper connection between the inner self and cosmic order, lessons that would later shape the unique nature of his reign. By the time he reached his teenage years, the people had already begun to see him not just as the future king, but as a bridge between worlds, the spiritual and the temporal, the past and the future. His name, whispered in village prayers and sung by court musicians, carried a weight that would only grow heavier with time. Wuwus was declared crown prince during a grand ceremony at Kandi Panaraban, with nobles from across the realm in attendance. This marked not only his royal status, but also symbolized a strategic alliance between Sundanese and Javanese powers. As prince, he traveled widely, resolving disputes and easing burdens on farmers and merchants, quickly earning the admiration of the populace. His deep empathy and intelligence won him the trust of all layers of society, from village elders to temple priests. Wuwus sought wisdom from foreign scholars and holy men, blending spiritual knowledge into administrative reform. He established deeper ties with neighbors, strengthening the kingdom's diplomacy. He initiated language standardization projects and personally oversaw the codification of ancient oral traditions. His father, King Tamperan, observed Wuwus' maturity with pride, slowly stepping back from rulership to allow his son's star to rise. Wuwus' coronation as Prabu Galu was both spiritual and ceremonial, held under sacred stars and the blessings of sages. His name symbolized flow and harmony, principles he vowed to uphold in his rule. One of his first acts was to re-establish Galuh as the center of power, honoring the kingdom's ancestral soul. He was a reformer at heart, establishing learning centers and championing cultural renewal. Prabu Galu built infrastructure that respected both human needs and the environment, integrating construction with ritual. Sacred sites were preserved, and every building began with offerings to the land's spirits. The realm entered an age of enlightenment. People from far lands arrived to study in Galuh's academies, while locals experienced prosperity under fair and firm rule. Prabu Galu introduced the cycle of harmony, an administrative calendar that merged governance with nature's rhythms. He further revolutionized the realm by introducing Aksara Galuh, a simplified writing system that promoted unity across regions. When famine struck neighboring realms, he opened the borders to refugees, integrating them through generous social programs. This act of compassion elevated his reputation far beyond his kingdom. Legends of his mystical power spread, predicting disasters, healing the sick, and walking through fire during sacred rituals. Whether symbolic or real, these tales inspired deep reverence. Under his rule, corruption faded and art flourished. The people called this time the Golden Lotus Era, a period of justice, creativity, and spiritual balance. Despite widespread peace, not all forces favored Prabu Galu's rule. Certain nobles grew envious of his popularity and the redistribution of privileges, forming secret alliances to undermine his authority. These elites, once beneficiaries of the old systems, viewed Galuh's reforms as threats to their ancestral influence. They whispered discontent among the provinces, spreading rumors and attempting to divide the unity he had carefully nurtured. Some even tried to forge ties with rival territories, seeking external support to challenge the throne. Rumors of rebellion and betrayal spread like wildfire across the countryside. Galuh, with foresight and calm, handled dissent not with violence, but by inviting dissenters to open dialogue in the Galuh Sabha, his people's assembly. These assemblies became spaces where grievances could be aired openly, reducing the allure of covert conspiracies. In some cases, the king personally visited rebellious regions, speaking directly with the people to remind them of their shared destiny and to expose the lies of their would-be oppressors. Some enemies repented, while others vanished into the shadows, their ambitions quietly extinguished. Galuh's unwavering dharma guided him through political storms. His spiritual strength, often underestimated by his adversaries, proved a shield more powerful than any army. Through the blessings of his sacred rituals and the loyalty of his people, he emerged stronger after every challenge. His justice was never vengeful, and his ability to forgive transformed some of his fiercest critics into his most loyal allies. These experiences only deepened his wisdom. He strengthened the kingdom's judiciary and emphasized ethical governance across all provincial courts. He established an elite council of ethical inspectors, moral guardians tasked with advising regional leaders and ensuring laws were applied fairly. New codes of justice were engraved on stone and publicly displayed, symbolizing the king's commitment to truth. This movement toward transparency became a hallmark of his reign and left a lasting legacy in the legal traditions of Sunda. As the internal conspiracies faded, the people grew even more devoted to their king. Public festivals were held in his honor, not out of fear or compulsion, but genuine gratitude. The fields yielded great harvests, trade flourished, and temples resonated with chants of peace. Prabu Galu, through patience, compassion, and unyielding principles, had triumphed not only over enemies, but over fear, greed, and division. His legacy, shaped in the shadows, now stood radiant in the light of harmony and resilience. As he aged, Galuh devoted more time to spiritual exploration. He visited ancient temples, meditated in mountain caves, and studied esoteric scriptures, seeking higher truths beyond the throne. He shared this path with his people, encouraging spiritual reflection through festivals and learning. Under his guidance, a renaissance of faith and art bloomed. Many say he began preparing for life beyond the crown, selecting sages and scholars to advise his eventual successor. He saw kingship not as possession but as service, a temporary role in the great cycle. Prabu Galuh's vision of divine kingship redefined leadership. He showed that power, when aligned with compassion and clarity, could uplift entire civilizations. He often met with rishis and forest hermits to discuss universal truths and human purpose. These discussions were sometimes transcribed and distributed as sacred teachings, known as Sabda Galuh. As his spiritual influence grew, foreign monks and scholars began pilgrimages to Galuh, cementing the kingdom's place as a spiritual beacon in the archipelago. In his final years, Galuh became reclusive, yet his influence remained strong. He issued a decree establishing a council of elders and scholars to preserve justice and balance after his departure. He called for unity among the royal heirs and entrusted the sacred regalia to a hidden sanctuary guarded by monks sworn to the old ways. His farewell address, delivered by a trusted emissary, emphasized service, wisdom, and humility. When he vanished from public sight, many believed he had entered moksha, spiritual liberation. Others say he walked east into the misty forest and became one with the spirit of the land. The kingdom mourned yet rejoiced, for they had been blessed with a ruler who lived not for himself, but for the people and the Dharma. Legends claimed birds flew silently for a day, and even rivers slowed their current in mourning. His name was invoked in rituals for generations, a guiding presence for kings to come. The land of Galuh, once vulnerable to division, now stood united under the timeless virtues he instilled. After his departure, legends of Prabu Galuh continued to inspire generations. Temples were built in his honor, inscribed with verses he had written in his youth. Festivals marked his birthday as a time for reflection and community service. His policies endured, guiding future kings and forming the blueprint for Sunda's golden governance. The Council of Elders became a permanent institution, safeguarding the realm's wisdom and justice. Stories of his miracles became part of folklore, yet even skeptics admired his vision and leadership. He remained a symbol of unity across diverse cultures within the archipelago. Though centuries passed, the name Prabu Galuh lived on, not just in stone and song, but in the hearts of the people as the sage king who ruled with wisdom and left as a legend. Today, the ancient kingdom of Galuh is remembered through regions that once formed its core, parts of modern-day Ciamis, Banjar, Tasikmalaya, and even sections of Garut and Majalengka in West Java. These lands, rich in cultural memory and sacred landscapes, still hold ruins, oral traditions, and place names that echo the grandeur of Prabu Galu's reign. Galuh's spiritual and historical imprint continues to shape Sundanese identity and the broader narrative of the Indonesian archipelago.